Welcome to my back health and core work video. My name is Charlene Hutsebaut. I'm a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, speaker, and advocate of health and fitness. This video is for anyone who's recovering from a back injury and has been cleared by their physio or doctor, and also for those who want a little get up and go for their core, abs, and lower back to start the day. So let's get started. Have a lie down on your back on your mat, just looking at the moment straight up at the ceiling. Start with a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and find an easy rhythm of breathing for you. Our first main move will be what's called an imprint. This is meant to help warm up the back by doing a slight flexion into the mat and get the core muscles, the abs, obliques, as well as the back muscles firing. So you can see from my first repetition, I'm pulling my hips back towards my face slightly as I gently press my back towards the mat, and I do this by contracting my abdominal muscles. Imagine that line of pull coming from the hips up to the rib cage where the abs attach. Breathe out as you imprint or gently press the back. Breathe in to come back to a neutral spine. Breathe out to press. Breathe in to neutral. Keep moving through the imprint. Every time you do the imprint, contract your abdominal muscles gently and also squeeze your pelvic floor. Your glutes or your bum muscles should stay relaxed. Allow your core muscles to do most of the work here. Keep moving, squeeze pelvic floor, come back to neutral. Excellent, looking great. Your shoulders should be away from your ears, shoulder blades back on the mat. Our next move, which I've started, is called foot lifts. Your objective here is to keep your lower back and mid back in a neutral curve just away from the mat, holding your rib cage still and even in line with the pelvis by contracting your abdominal muscles, wrapping around your core unit. As one leg moves, the other one stays still. Breathe out to lift the foot off the mat. Breathe in to put it down. Breathe out and breathe in. Good. Keep moving. Keep your torso, head, neck, and shoulders nice and still. Make your breaths long and even to match your movements. Our next move is called a leg slide. Here we're doing a little bit of hip mobility. Let one knee fall gently out to the side, slide the foot down the floor, face the knee to the ceiling, and then pull it back up. So drop out, slide down, get the leg even, bring it back up. Your objective here, as you can see with my example, is to keep your torso still and the free leg or the supporting leg nice and still as well. Open the knee up, slide the foot down the mat, bring the knee into neutral facing the ceiling, and then back to the start position. Drop out, slide down, and pull it up. Keep your torso nice and still by contracting your abs gently, wrapping around your core unit between your hips and your rib cage. Now I'm getting set up for our next move, which is called a hip roll. So have a look first. Here, you're going to do one imprint that we started with. So you breathe out to imprint and then get your hips to follow, squeezing your gluteal or your bum muscles to bring you up into the bridge position. Do a breath in at the top, and then breathe out to gently roll each vertebrae down to the mat. So breathe out to roll up, one vertebrae at a time coming up and off. Have a nice hip flexor quad stretch at the top, squeezing your glutes. And we're on a breath out again to roll it down. So hold here for a moment, breathe in, breathe out to do your imprint, abs tight, glutes squeezing, bring the hips up. Hold here at the top, breath in, and then breathe out to roll it down. If my movements and breaths are a little bit short or quick for you, by all means, please do a longer breath cycle. We're doing what we call a 4-breath pattern here, holding on the in-breath and breathing out to move. Now we're moving to our next item, which is simply a lower back and torso stretch. So you can't see me on the other side, but I have my opposite arm to that top leg on the mat, on the floor, and the shoulder is on the floor as well. Go slowly in this one, especially if you have been experiencing any lower back irritation recently. You'll know what works for you and what doesn't. You can always go with a little bit less range of motion. You could put a yoga bolster or blocks underneath that bottom knee to support you a little bit. And just nice even breaths here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when you bring the legs back up to the top position to transition, do a little bit of abdominal squeeze to get you ready. And then bring your knees up. So we're switching the legs over. I used to only do this one way, but I now actually like going both directions because you feel a slightly different stretch with the legs in the different positions. So you can see here a bit of a better view of my opposite shoulder to the top leg. I'm trying to keep that down on the mat, so you can think of shoulder blades back onto the mat. Good work. So we're just going over to the other side. Keeping the breath nice and even, looking straight up at the ceiling. Good. Nice to have some quiet time here. So let's get ready for our next move. Here we're going to have the arms above the shoulders, fingers facing to the ceiling, abs tight, hips staying still, and we're going to do arm circles. Breathe in to come back, breathe out to circle around. So here in Pilates, we're actually just testing if you can keep your rib cage still. So if you feel your rib cage lifting as the arms come back, you want to contract the abs just a little bit more to keep the rib cage in place. Good. Breathe in to let the arms come back towards the forehead. Breathe out to circle them around. The legs and the hips are staying still. So I've changed direction. Always want to even everyone out. And again, testing as the arms come up back towards the head, that the rib cage is staying in place. You might feel that sensation as the middle or thoracic spine lifting off the mat slightly. Try to keep it nice and even, rib cage not moving. So let's transition to our next move, which I call shoulder blade slides. I find with clients that if suppose you have a small short foam roll or a pillow, you could hold it between your hands because we don't want your hands coming in and out. This is fingers straight to the ceiling and then coming back. This is all about sliding your shoulder blades off the mat slightly and then pulling them back into neutral. or what we call retraction. You also want your shoulders, your shoulder joints, away from your ears. Good, excellent. We're just having a little transition, a little bit of breathing time. Nice breaths in and out. So any way that's comfortable, I'm going to get you to come up off your back and come to a kneeling position, or what we call 4-point kneeling. Hands just underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And you can see here I'm setting up with a neutral spinal column for me. So I've got a little bit of a curve in my lower back. And we're going to do cat stretches, which most of you may have heard of. So it's a breath out to transition up into the back flexion, abs tight, squeeze pelvic floor, and a breath in to come down. Here we're doing just a 2-breath cycle. Breath out to come into the stretch, abs tight. Breathe in to come to neutral. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Breathe out to flex the back, squeeze pelvic floor. Breathe into neutral. Make sure your head and neck feel okay. Allow the head and neck to follow the line of the spinal column when you come up into the cat stretch. Breath out, abs tight, squeeze pelvic floor. Breathe into neutral. Make sure you don't come too far into neutral or past neutral. Sometimes that can lock the vertebrae or make it feel just a little bit too clunky. So find your neutral position. Good, excellent. Now we're setting up for opposite arm and leg lift. One of my favorites. Again, if you've been having a bit of back irritation recently, this one might be a little high level for you, but as long as you're without pain, it should be fine to do. Keep the abs gently wrapped. So you can see here on me, I'm keeping a neutral spine, little curve in that lower back as it should be. And I've got my core unit wrapped, so it's as though I have an anchor around my midsection, my core area, and my rib cage. So it's just the limbs extending and reaching out from their joints. Belly button coming up away from the floor. And here again, one of my favorites, just a modified child pose. You can put your head down on the mat, have a towel there if you prefer for your head. Arms nice and long. If you're a little tight through the quads or the front of the thighs, you can always put a little pillow between your bottom and your heels. And if that doesn't quite feel right for the head and neck, you can always have a yoga block under your head or a pillow. Excellent, you're doing well, guys. So we're getting ready for our next one. You see I'm getting my toes curled a bit under. We're going to do what we call in Pilates leg pull front. And you can see here my back is staying in neutral again. Abs are wrapped. I'm supporting myself. I'm squeezing my pelvic floor as I lift my knees about 2 inches off the mat. My shoulders stay away from my ears. This is quite a force development around the core unit. So if you do 1 or 2 and it's too much for you, just go back to the child pose stretch for a moment and relax. Get to know your body and what you can handle. And here we're doing one which I call a modified child pose with a twist. So you get one arm behind the other, Velcro it to the mat, and then drop back as you usually would into the child pose, hips to heels. And you can't see it on me here because it's on the other side, but I'm getting a big stretch down my right hand side, which is my bottom arm. So let's switch the sides over. One arm goes behind the other, Velcro that forearm down. Have a big stretch down that side of the torso. Important to do some twisting in our lives, I think, nowadays. Nice even breaths in and out, everyone. that should be it for our sequence today. Thanks for joining me. Really enjoyed guiding you through that back workout. You can find me online on Twitter at Positively Slim or on Facebook, Positively Slim, and my website is Charlene Hutsebaut.